attractive woman that is small. But they were able to disguise her as an evil kid. That kid came back on the Chuckles and Laugh show, and that kid's no joke. I'll tell you this right now. She was going around tormenting the whole insane asylum. Not me, of course, because I thought it was entertaining. But the rest of the inmates, she was torturing hell.
Because we got two evil kids in question here. One, the Ring, otherwise known as Ringu, the Japanese one. That's Samura. Right? Then we had the other one, the American version being the Grudge, and the Japanese version, Ju-on, right?
The Grudge. This is where Nurse Misery and I separate. She hates that movie. But the first and third one, I absolutely adore. That kid is creepy as sin, especially when he opens his mouth and makes that noise.
Right. And then, and I only saw the first one myself. Then I figured it was redundant.
The second one, it didn't need to be done. And then the third one, with just the movements alone with the child and his mother, the way that they were moving, terrified Nurse Misery.
The third one was creepy. The first one I had watched it, and I was bored to tears by it. I don't know if it was because I was home from school sick that day and just couldn't be entertained no matter what. But I was bored by it.
I think that was it because
that's a good movie.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a slow build up, granted, but it was as we say, the payoff was worth it, especially when you're seeing the kid with the jaw, the kid with the jaw through the whole movie, and then you find out that the reason for that is because his jaw was torn off when they find the bone, and then you realize that's why. And so that was a genuinely creepy moment.
Oh, yeah.
No question about it. And The Ring, now, The Ring is an unusual situation because Ringu and the American version of The Ring, usually I'm a person that prefers the Japanese. I like Japanese horror cinema just like I like Japanese science fiction cinema. In this case only, this is the only one where I do prefer the American version better. It was by a little bit.
Yeah, it was a little more fluent. It was a little more... had a little more edge to it than the Japanese version.
Yes, something, yeah. And I'll tell you, now that you got me thinking about The Ring, I'm going to have to go watch that again when I get home because, Samura, that was a perfectly made movie. Like, it can be done because they show you a bunch of horrible shit and then they start to explain it little by little. And everything they explain, you say, oh my God, yeah. It all makes sense, and every time they have a revelation about why something is happening, it gets worse and worse and worse until you find out that the reason you have 7 days to live between the time you watch the video and the time that she kills you, because the 7 days was how long she lived down in that well.
Yeah.
And that to me is one of the greatest, how long it took her to die in the darkness. And that is one of the most evil punchlines.
Yeah.
Greatest punchlines ever in a horror movie, and I include all of them.
Yeah, that movie creeped me
out.
I
just gotta like chill just thinking about that.
When the woman was dredging the skeleton out of the bottom of that well, and there was no music, no suspense, and all of a sudden the ghost, boom, was right there. That was a moment. I was with a young lady that ended up digging her fingernails so deeply into my muscle that I almost needed stitches.
Right.
I wanted to throw her across the room, and I said, "You had to have known something bad was coming up. She's down in a well with a skeleton." Well, they didn't play any good music.
See, and that's the thing. That's the key.
People rely on
it. At this point, it's become such a horror movie cliche. Yeah. The music comes before the scare.
Yep.
So then you can prep yourself.
Yeah, that's how simple it is to manipulate human nature.
Now, how many of us at this table, well, I will say I did it, after watching that movie, called their friends, and now don't have those friends?
You mean telling them to watch it?
No. Right after that movie, got on the phone and called someone.
No, I didn't.
You never did that?
I didn't do the 7-day prank call. Actually, I have never done a prank call in my life.
Wow, am I the only one in this room that did that?
That never occurred to me, actually. Actually, if you had done that, unless they had watched The Ring before you did, they wouldn't have got it anyway.
Well, I just go upstairs.
No, he's saying they watched it all together in a room. Then he snuck upstairs and called their cell phone.
With the people you watched it with.
Yeah.
You guys didn't do that?
No, you know why? Because
I was too young to have a cell phone when that came out.
I guess I'm a rotten bastard.
Well, no. I think the problem was I made the unfortunate mistake of watching that movie by myself, which is probably why I'm as warped and traumatized. That's one of the reasons why I'm as twisted as I am now. Because I'll tell you, that movie, and I'll tell you, I've been watching horror and reading written horror for a long time. It takes a lot to literally scare me. That movie did it. Yeah. Like I say, it has all my praise. It did it. Yep, doesn't happen often. But now the only thing and I think it's a good thing that they made one sequel, right?
Yeah,
of The Ring.
The sequel was good.
It was okay, but then they dropped it, and I think that's a good thing because you can't really make a franchise out of Samra.
Yeah,
you can't. There's no place to take it.
No,
and
the movie was done.
Right.
When the credits rolled, it was over.
Yeah, it made sense how the sequel came out because there was a leftover VHS copy of it.
Right. So they justified the sequel, but it wasn't necessary.
Yeah.
Right. To take it further, not at all.
Yeah, it had a very neat closing at the end of the first one. The second one was just like, whatever, try and make more money.
Now, to add scare to that, now, you know where my last asylum I was in, it was actually haunted by other things besides me, and we were watching that down in a dark, damp basement. And then I was the jerk that went upstairs and dialed the phone number to someone inside there that I was attracted to. And let's just say this, Chuckles didn't get any nookie that night.
Okay, on that.
Wow, how do you move on from there?
And that's when he resorted to turkeys.
As long as the turkeys happened before me, I'm cool with that.
And as long as he disinfected his tongue.
Yes.
All right, let's go. Let's resort to a little bit more music here. Let's go Bedroom Rehab Corp. Let's do a little Basilosaurus, one of my favorites, here on the Haunted Cabaret, Rhode Island Free Radio. All right, that was Bedroom Rehab Corp with Basilosaurus, the metal band that owns the most bizarre name in the history of music. Apparently, the story is that Tony Jones got from the band themselves is that they wanted a name that was not taken. Because obviously anybody that's ever been in a band or even thought of starting a band, you sit there for hours and days trying to come up with a name that sounds good.
And you have to really come up with a name that expresses what you're doing.
Wow.
Yes.
Tony, wow.
Yes, you do. And Tony's referring to a certain band of our acquaintance that really made a big silly production of the whole thing. But Tony, in defense of that band, I don't think they're the only ones that take it that seriously. I think that many a creative individual has faced the moment when they sat around and just thought for hours and just could not find the ideal name. So what these people did is they literally went to the dictionary, an old-fashioned in-print dictionary, opened it, and their name became the first three words that they found at random when they put their finger on the dictionary. And that's how we have Bedroom Rehab Corporation. Yeah, good music, too. I mean, I don't think it's going to take them anywhere because there is something to be said for names that really express who you are as opposed to Bedroom Rehab Corporation. But, hey, it was a new twist on the name-finding experience.
If I thought that the band Tony Jones and the Cretin 3 was actually going to be around close to 10 years later, I probably would have spent more time hashing out a name.
Well, I've thought of that myself, but that's actually the beauty of the name of our band is because rock and roll itself, now, in spite of what Bono from The Edge and Bruce Springsteen and all these boner heads have tried to tell us, rock and roll is not supposed to be serious. And when I say rock and roll, I mean pop, I mean metal, I mean whatever your category of music is. It's not brain surgery. It's not either on human brains or alien. It's just no kind of brain surgery. It's not profound. It's not the philosophy, dug up out of the ground in the Dead Sea. It's not supposed to be that serious. You don't need to write about it on Facebook for pages about how you're searching for your inspiration. You're writing songs about drinking, getting laid, and monsters. If you're a tip and sometimes music itself.
Sometimes drinking, getting laid, and monsters all at the same time.
All at the same time, yes. To quote Tony Jones,
interesting evening.
The writer of Lady Frankenstein, which, by the way...
Based on a true story?
Based on a true story, and which has now become the soundtrack of a horror movie itself. Tony, what's the name of that movie that... Let's be nepotic here for a second. What's the name of that movie that we have a soundtrack?
Dr. Frankenstein's House of the Hungry Undead.
Sounds pretty good, actually. Yeah, I haven't checked it out yet.
You guys should watch it and review it.
Yeah, the funny thing is that so far the reviews we've seen of the movie just review our music and that's it, and it stops right there. But yeah, so we'll have to give the music a watch. We'll have to give this movie a watch for ourselves, and I'll let you know what we think of it on this very show in the future. But where were we? Evil Kids. Yeah. Now, Chuckles, you brought up a good point during the music. Now, what about possessed kids? Now, they're not evil on purpose, although Linda Blair, I think there's a case to be made that, she's so obnoxious, like, as an actress, that, if you've seen her in anything other than The Exorcist, I mean, you prefer the demon personality in The Exorcist to anything you've seen her act in, on her own, believe me. Well, except for maybe Caged Heat, because then she was naked, so she didn't really have to act much.
You just got the look.
Yeah, you got to look, and she moaned and screamed.
Oh, so that's easy.
Well, actually, come to think of it, that's pretty much all she did in The Exorcist, too. Moaned and screamed dressed.
So that's what she can do. She
and
can
threw
moan
up.
and scream.
And throw up.
Well, she's multi-talented.